Ladies and gentlemen, would you be so kind as to go to your seats so we can start our last session for today?
Do you think someone needs the French translation still?
Maybe so. Yeah, are there still people who haven't?
For today is also for the conference, for the whole conference, the last session. As we have already explained, I want to work a little more, like 10 or 15 minutes on, or even 20 minutes on our list, and then I will hand it over to Heiner to sum up, wrap up the conference and conclude it. But I think there is probably a lot of good ideas among you that can complete our list, and then you can be, later on, this list can be sent to you and you add your own ideas or whatever you drew from the conference to it. I want to mention one point, and I want to ask Tim also to put it on, that is, we call it letter to the editor, or be active in the field of media. I recently spoke to a very famous journalist in Germany, Birgit Kelle. Some of you know it, and her husband, Klaus Kelle, he was a former editor-in-chief of this yellow paper in Germany, the Bild-Zeitung in North Rhine-Westphalia. And from experience of talking with them, they told me that whenever you find a good article on the newspaper or a good report on the television, it is so essential for those that write good articles that they receive positive, affirmative letters. And what I learned from Birgit Kelle was that in the Redaktionskonferenz, you know, where all the writers of the newspaper meet in the morning, then after the article is there, the only question, the first question is, how much response did you get on your article? And even, she told me she's pro-family. And she writes in many newspapers, and the majority of those that write for the paper have not the pro-family attitude. But she can continuously write in this newspaper because she gets most positive responses. So if you get up to 50 responses, that's extremely good in any newspaper. So you have to identify those conservative, or these conservatives, call it progressive or whatever, pro-family writers, and then get in your organization a group together. 50 is not so difficult to have. If you get a group of parents that feel we can't do much to help the case, but if they write and then they say, I really appreciated the article and what you wrote was right to the point, that keeps them alive. That secures their position in the media, in the newspaper, in the television or whatever. And other way around, it works also. If you get negative responses, yeah? So 50 is incredible number for someone, and even if you can say, I got 15 responses on my pro-family article and the others didn't get that, your position is safe in the newspaper, yeah? So if you take that and you can mobilize your congregation or your group to write positive responses whenever you find that is a life insurance for those who write. It's a life insurance. Because as we said before, you often find a situation that the majority in the media is sometimes leaning to the other side. Yeah? Therefore, those pro-family writers need our support. Do you want to confirm that? Or?
Yes, I want to confirm that. Because that was actually, thank you, because that was actually my question. Today, the media is still the opinion leader, and how that can we support them, or how can we come ourselves into the media. We don't know enough about these things. Just what you said now, this is extremely helpful.
Yeah.
It's very little, but still we can do it.
Yeah.
And I would like to have a workshop about this topic. How can we deal with the media to have more
Yeah, I understand. I understand your point. What you got from me now is the essence of what this journalist couple told me already. That would be the essence of the workshop. Please write. Don't think it's in vain. Don't think they throw it in the paper basket or waste basket. It's really, really, really appreciated, and that's the way we can do it. That was my point, suggestion. Others that you want to make. Mr. Sir from Africa, please.
Yes. Well, my suggestion was, is it possible to have some sort of interactive forum? Because you see, we've just met here, so to say, incidentally, and then we have opinions of what is happening here and there. But if we have a permanent interactive forum, we could handle discussion on whatever theme, and people from where they are, they can be contributing.
Yes, I understand. I don't know where you stand, where your position is on social media. You might think that is a funny thing, that is strange, and or you might think that is good. But I appreciate Facebook a lot. And I'm connected to many of the organizations that are represented here via Facebook. And I get valuable information on family issues from organizations that are also on Facebook. Yeah? So, if you have no apprehension to go into social media, check after you get the list of the participants in the organizations here if they have a Facebook page. And then click, I like it, and you want the newsletter, and you want the information. And then every day when you open up your Facebook account, you get valuable information. And this is also how we can stay in touch. To me, this is very, very practical and valuable. I don't know how we can set up a forum where we all be a part of that.
Yeah, anyway, since you talk about Facebook, why not having on Facebook a family
okay?
You know,
Christian?
Yeah.
we just go on the family.
Yeah, I understand your point. We put it on and we see.
Yeah, to that maybe one idea what could be done because I'm with the Family Forum also a partner in the Austrian Family Network, and we have as a Google group also where those also who are interested, who are part of the group, they get the letters, the invitation, or the letters, and there are also possibilities to discuss certain issues. Yeah.
Feel free to send this Google group information to the participants here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Other proposals here, please, from the Netherlands.
Of course. Many corporations are interested in finding out that if the families, if the people working for them are actually more stable and produce more because their family situation is healthy, they will actually spend more time and money in it. So I could imagine us contacting human resources of the different larger organizations, explaining the situation, the pros and the cons, and let them talk about stress management, fatigue because of family relations, divorce preventive courses, and so on and so on.
Okay. Thank you very much. Tim, can you make that in a headline? Okay. We had one good, during lunch, we had one good suggestion from the gentleman from Strasbourg. Would you like to make that?
Yes, thank you very much. I would like to suggest to you to declaim the commemoration of the family every year as the family pride.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Think about that. Family pride. Family pride. Maybe we even march sometime.
I suggested as well the date.
Pardon? Yeah, whatever date we'll
I
find.
suggested as well a date, for example, the 24th of June, which is the feast of Saint John.
Okay.
So
Okay, think about it, which date suits you well, but family pride is a very good yeah, for example, doing marriage. Mrs. Walsh.
In terms of developing grassroots, empowering our younger generation, people that don't feel particularly skilled, the real simple thing is having a good book such as from Neufeld, you can have a parent group on how to hold on to your kids, or Greg Bear, who has Real Love, very simple book. You just have a book club with young people, work in the communities. It just helps us strengthen our own internal family situation, but to build your grassroots.
Books club. Good.
Small group book clubs.
Good. Very good. May I say something that sounds a little bit anarchic? No. But when I drove to Cherbourg recently with my car, I saw on the bridges that go over the motorway, I saw they glue it on, just black and white letters, no au gender. Yeah? So on every bridge, that when you go there through all the Normandy, from Paris to Cherbourg, you would see black and white, they glue it on, no au gender, no to gender. But you could also make ja zur Familie, from family and marriage, marriage and family ahead, or whatever. You know, maybe even consider in your city, you have a bridge where every day 100,000 cars go, the traffic. And one day in the morning they go and say, ja zur Familie, or marriage ahead, or whatever. Do these kind of anarchic things. Yeah? Why not?
Because you're in the UN.
But don't ask your city council for permission. You may not get it.
You're suggesting a graffiti strategy.
No graffiti strategy, that's Western tradition. We don't want to follow that.
Okay, call to order.
Okay.
But it's up to you. Other proposals that have not been made
No,
yet.
I only wanted to say then we have to engage the card for such things.
What?
The card students.
Young people, you mean organization for young people?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
One purpose of this meeting actually was, when it was being planned, was to come up with some sort of talking points or advocacy points that could be generally distributed to prevent this kind of feeling of being intimidated by what's happening, by all the so-called experts that we know are self-proclaimed experts, actually, many times. So something that we could maybe do as an outcome of this event, collecting some of these good ideas, and at least to begin with, we could send them out to the people who attended here and put them on websites.
How would you name that? How can we make that in a headline?
Preparing advocacy points on family and marriage to popularize kind of the issue.
You know, in America, we sort of frame everything in the Department of Health and Human Services for the sake of child well-being.
Child well-being.
Child well-being. So, I also like the idea of optimum human development.
Optimum human development.
Or optimum human growth.
Very good terminology.
Or optimum human development, because I think that sounds cool, right? So then if you say, I want to be part of marriage and family, oh, that sounds conservative, religious, but I want to be part of something which promotes optimum human development.
Cool. I think it's good. Maria, it's yours to say we have to find the right terminology. Huh?
Yeah.
So that's in this direction. So maybe one or two more, and then get your act together, and then Heiner takes over. Maria, and then.
Very briefly, just to say that in general, it's better in terms of wording to use positive wording. Marriage matters. Yes yes to family, but not no to gender. It's better to strengthen what is good and what is favourable and use those words. I think it helps if you want to have the positive terminology, although you sometimes need to say no as well.
Yeah, sometimes the negative side in me wins over the positive. No, I know, you're right.
So I think some of these ideas were meant to go under the idea of advocacy. Like positive terminology, and these are things that we could put under.
Yeah, you want to leave that.
I mean, you have to consider this is now not really elaborated. It's a collection, but it's for your service, and for your then you can rearrange it or whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
one more, and then Stephen.
Yeah. Just also about people, all these individual rights. I have the right to change sex. Why don't we stress the child's right? There's never anything about the child's right. It's always about the individual. And what about the child, the most vulnerable person in society? We don't have any.
Yeah, thank you very much. One thing I can say, who told me that during lunchtime someone said, during a coffee break, someone said, if little children had a union, what would this union demand? Little children don't have a union. But, yeah, if you ask little children, what do you want? They say more time with mommy and daddy. Or they say, yeah, more time, but then they have to be 8 or 10 hours somewhere else. So think about it. If little children had a union, if you ask little children what they want. Steve?
I have lots of things to say with this, but I think the Americans have shown a pioneer path, and watching that path grow from afar is very amazing to watch, and you see how that grew, how those things developed, and how they developed the marriage initiative and things like this. But it was by far, I think, one of the key people was having a central email person, and that was Diane Solly.
Stephen, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But the point is, she emailed, she built this email list, and she just sent it, and collected all the people's organizations that were interested in marriage, collected their data, collected their articles, and she sent out every single day a newsletter saying, and what she did, she educated the American politicians, religious leaders, over time, over a course of 10 years, and she started a conference and everything else, and then out of those connections became all these other initiatives.
So what's the proposal?
Well, you've got to educate, the politicians and the people of Europe, the key leaders. And the question is that there's a man in England called David Percival who does the same. He does it once a week. He sends out. And the question is whether I might talk to him and ask him, because he sends it out to all over the Europe and world actually. But he only introduces
okay, we got the point.
To have maybe a European section. And if he might, then he might be a good focal point where people with articles or something research or anything is sent to him, and then he might be willing to work on a European level. But if not, then somebody's got to do it. Because without educating politicians and everybody about the data and the costs and everything else, it's just so much harder.
Okay.
So the Facebook page is nice, but how to do that?
Last one, and then I hand it over.
Very short. We had a very good lecture about Neufeld and other expertise, and we realized how the sex education at our schools is handled. What about a campaign for better sex education in the schools?
Oh.
Education to love. Yeah.
Or at least detect what's on the plan.
As a good moderator,
Excuse me?
you cannot veto, actually.
Thank you for this.
You said brainstorm, come on.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. I should know. Yeah, thank you.
Maybe a comment to that. Okay.
Not a comment. Joseph, not a long comment.
No, one sentence.
Brainstorming.
brainstorming, yeah. I find it this is a very important issue, the sex education in school, but I find that it would be important that as family organizations that we work out and present together really a curriculum for the government, for the ministry, not only to be against it. Yeah, this is what you mean. Yeah.
That's what I said.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not against the pro-marriage development relationship.
Okay, Tim put it down and we brainstorm more on that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I hand it over now to Heiner. At 4 o'clock I will leave. It's not because I'm protesting against anything, but my train will go soon afterwards. Anyway, I say already, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would like now to wrap up the conference. I would like to invite Maria Hildingson, and also Lynn Wall and Carolyn Hunshin. And I'm the only man here, so that's okay. We were mostly men talking, so now we have a little bit less men.
I can also represent.
Would you? Yeah, I think you need to be saying I would like just first to say I did a terrible mistake in the beginning. I forgot to tell you that this whole conference is being recorded and filmed, because that's normally I should put a disclaimer there and say, well, if you do not agree with that, then you know. So if you feel your presence here was not appropriate, or then you can come to me and we will try to get you out. We will Photoshop you out. But fundamentally, this is of course necessary to say that, to announce it. But the fact was, until end of last year, we had no chance at the UN to film. We were not allowed as NGOs, so now we have that chance to film, but we of course will have to inform people to agree with that. And film especially also the contributors, who hopefully agree that they were filmed their valuable contribution. I think from
the information on the website, the downloads.
Right. I have a good conscience helping me a little bit to remember things. We are planning. Yeah.
Sure. Yes.
We have also planned to make all contents of this conference fully available, not against any charge. Of course, this is fully free of charge. This is public. We'll put it on the website, including the presentations, but bear with us because it takes a little bit of time, as our technical staff is Michel Vermont, who is not here now, and also I want to thank them for their actually great efforts to record it. Thank them in advance already, because they're going to do that whole work over the next few days. Actually, please say that.
It's sweet nothings.
Yeah, so actually wrapping up this conference, first of all, I think we have to, I thought it would be good maybe from the key organizers just to say a few words as a conclusion, because these points will need to be, put together, and I hope everyone who wants to get an update wrote down their email address. We have, for those who are registered for the conference, we have the email address, and you're anyway in, but those who maybe came in or are NGOs that in consultative status or missions who would like to be informed, that's why it's good to have your address put in so that you can be updated about the results of this conference. And we will make this available, the PowerPoints and also the presentations, so that you can use that. And then I would suggest, instead of making, we stormed a lot, I think. We stormed quite a bit, and I'm happy that Christian was very initiative and pushed that point. because that's usually at the conferences what we don't have. We don't have time to talk also from the floor. That's a little bit, I'm glad that you did that, and I think we're grateful for this. Now, I thought that we would just, in closing, each of the key organizer, plus also Josie Howard, who came from the US, one of our closest, also closest friends, and somehow came and brought in important data from the US for us to understand in Europe how we should handle things, maybe, and how we could handle things differently. I wanted every person here maybe just makes a 2 or 3 minutes comment on some of the expectations, some of the findings, or something like that, to close up, and then the conference, and then, I mean, if you have a different idea, please state it, and yeah, and then we would close the conference and put ourselves to work, because that's what it means. So I don't know, maybe Maria, I'll let you start, and then we go check through.
Thank you very much, Heiner. On behalf of FAFSA, we first of all like to thank you for the excellent organisation of this conference. And it has been a pleasure to be here to meet with you all. So thank you for bringing so many speakers together and for putting the focus on the family. I think that each one of us, we can make a difference wherever we are with the talents we have. And I also would like to say that each family can really make a difference. So what happens within each one of our families, whether you're married or perhaps you're not, but we're all part of a family, we all come from a family. And what happens within each one of these families has a huge impact on society, since family is the basic unit of society. Now, I've spoken several times about Sweden during this conference. I would like to mention a very interesting example of what happened in one of our neighbour countries in 2010, namely in Norway. Norway was classified as the most gender equal country in the world in, I think, 2009. But a Norwegian sociologist started thinking about the differences between men and women, and he was wondering whether men and women are completely interchangeable or not. Now, he decided to do some research. And the funny part is that he decided to do a documentary. But in fact, he was trained as a sociologist, but for many years he worked as a comedian. And he's a very well-known comedian in Norway. So he went out on the streets in Oslo and started talking to people and asking them, saying, I want to ask you a question. Everyone was laughing at him, and then he said, well, no, it's really a serious question. I'm doing a serious program here. And still people didn't want to believe, because he was so known on the TV. But at the end of the day, he did manage to get some replies to his questions, and in particular, he was interviewing Norwegian researchers about gender theory. And he filmed what they said. He then went to the United Kingdom and to the United States, where he met with other academics, and he showed what those Norwegian academics were saying. Their American and British colleagues did not really agree with what they said. And he went back and he showed that to the Norwegian researchers, who were quite upset, I must say. This was all about gender theory, the differences between men and women, whether it's psychological differences, physiological differences, educational differences, and so forth. All in all, this documentary was made into 7 chapters, all broadcasted on prime time on the national Norwegian television in 2010. Those documentaries triggered a huge debate in Norway. And although I haven't seen it written in a public way anywhere, the Norwegian National Council for Research, that is funding all the public research, decided not to renew the research on gender theory because it was proved that the way this research was conducted in Norway was by no means scientific.
Yes. You can watch it on YouTube.
You can watch it on YouTube. The program is called Brainwash. And it has been translated with subtitles in English.
Yes, it's very good.
Now, their Swedish colleagues were not pleased at all, of course. So Sweden is a peculiar country, and the Swedish National Research Council decided to increase the funding for gender theory so as to welcome those exiled Norwegian researchers in Sweden. Nevertheless, it does show that using humour, being factual, and reaching out through the media, you can make a huge difference in terms of funding, in terms of influencing the public opinion, and in terms of raising awareness among normal people of what's really happening at a certain academic or political level. So I think that example can certainly be used in other ways, finding the right people and the right topics. And if Norway did this, then you know, in Sweden we usually make fun of Norwegians. We have these relations between all states. But so I'm not saying this because I'm Swedish, but if they managed to do this in a country which is very, very, very far ahead on all these issues, marriage and family, then I'm sure it could be done in any other country. So everyone can make a difference. Nothing is impossible if you have goodwill and you work together. So that would be my last word, the importance of networking, sharing information, sharing experiences, and trying to go forward in a positive way, with positive wording, and remaining very factual and showing compassion with each one of those persons that we meet. Because family and marriage are very sensitive topics, and we have no clue what the people who surround us have been through in their own marital or family life. So we need to care for the family, not only within our own family, but also by showing that family life can be something positive. Marriage is positive, and promoting a positive image of it all, so that those young people who I was speaking about yesterday, who consider family as being their top priority, they be not deceived that their hope that they may establish their own family, found their own family, can be fulfilled. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. I'm also very happy that actually what you say about networking you actually do. Yeah, it's not on, but we have no translation. Translator is in the audience, which is good. So anyway, she is not only a person of great message, but also of action. That's what I really appreciate. Thank you. So maybe Caroline, you want to go next?
Okay.
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 Push the button.
It's
okay. Anyway, I wanted to maybe just go back to this point of some kind of momentum that was generated through the passing of the Human Rights Council resolution on protection of family, and what has happened here during these 2 days. Because I think when we step out of this room and we're in our different circles that we're dealing with wherever we are, we don't feel such a support as we feel to what we understand would be the optimal kind of way for things to go. So my hope is that from this meeting we can, wherever we are working, if we are trying to influence the mayor in our community, or just trying to talk to our children who are hearing other things from their teachers, or if we're working at the United Nations or the European Union, that we come out with a few sort of advocacy points or talking points that we can refer back to when we find ourselves a little sort of bombarded with other views. And that also we can understand that we can make alliances. We don't need to think we can only make alliances with people that think exactly the same as us all the way across the board. Huh? We find some points that we agree with, you know, strong families. I think these points for me, these two steps that I think Maria said and others said, we focus on building strong families from within, which means actually my family too, and thinking about the importance of these strong families to the development, you know, the development in our communities, the development agenda, if we're working at the UN, and somehow keep those kind of ideas sort of in the forefront of our mind. And some of the points that came out about, you know, even if because many times we feel that we have to really kind of, in order to be successful, we have to break down the whole, this whole lobbying, which seems so overwhelming sometimes. It seems to be pushing against the integrity of the family. But I think we can choose sort of smaller points and make incremental steps and make alliances along the way. And focusing on things like the importance of dedication in marriage and the relationship of dedication in marriage to dedication, you know, towards the community or towards the greater well-being. And to not forget that we are not the minority, actually. We have that feeling oftentimes, but we are actually, I think civil society's basic concern about family, healthy family, kind of a normal, even form of family is actually the majority. The majority of people think that way. And even if I can say just one small thing related to that, many of the women that I work with here at the UN, the very strong feminist thinking women, I sort of had the idea that they were against these ideas that we are talking about here, because that is the way they seem to behave in public, actually. But I discovered in private, actually over and over again, that actually when it comes down really to their personal viewpoint, they're thinking very much like us and like the rest of that great majority in the world who is really looking for the sort of reestablishment of healthy family as a bulwark in our society. So anyway, these are just sort of points that we have to sort of keep in the forefront of our minds so that we can have the power and the empowerment to go on. Oh yeah, because he didn't introduce me at the beginning. No, he just said, Heiner said I should just, I'm representing the Women's Federation for World Peace International, which I think most of you know that, and working here at the United Nations representing that organization. So I would, and for us of course, even though it's not our only issue, family is of course, as a woman, as a motherhood is a big issue that we make. Motherhood related to the development agenda is one of our big points. But this of course is very much wrapped with family. So anyway, I look forward also, especially to this point, if we could really set up the family committee, NGO committee on family here in Geneva at the UN. I know there are some in the audience who would be very interested in doing this. Maybe we can get together and do that. So thank you very much, everyone, all your great interventions and ideas, and I hope we can continue together and really make a kind of a global mobilization in the right direction. So thank you.
Yeah, I have to thank Carolyn and Heiner. What a phenomenal job you have done. Heiner, I see you running around organizing speakers, timetable, running after people who lost the bag. You know, you've done a phenomenal, important job, and it's really a breakthrough. Thank you for all of us. And take it as a couple. When I'm in an argument with my husband, what helps me get out of the argument is realizing we want the same thing. And so I'm thinking, what empowers me, you know, in relationships when I realize we want the same thing. And it's true of gays, of feminists, cohabiting, we want the same thing. We're human beings, all of us hurt, all of us struggling, all of us in pain, not knowing how to manage all this. So it helps that we have a parental heart towards everyone. We're not actually in an argument. Even with the gays, they're suffering. They're looking for love, just like we are. So we have to have a parental heart. I think I'm echoing what has been said. Self-compassion, because we're not doing so great in our own marriages and families. Let's admit it. With our own kids. But we have to have a parental heart even towards those we feel like we're against. We're actually not. So in a parental heart, we have to really stick to the core values of what a human being is. We're relational, we need unconditional love, we need principles. And that's what we're all fighting for. Gays are fighting for it too. They're just going the wrong way. So I just really encourage us, because it helps me connect to, I'm talking to another human being, you know, that needs compassion, needs understanding. And I think that's our strength, because we're really fighting for the human family and human-to-human connection. So I think that's sort of our positive approach. I had too much coffee like this. Thank you.
First of all, I'm so grateful to have been invited to Switzerland and to hear so many different viewpoints from different countries. It's thrilling for me, I have to tell you. I'm also sort of reliving, because when I started my work in ACF in the government, we had many of these type of meetings in different parts of the country, trying to make people aware that funding will be available. So we sort of primed the pump, right? So we had a lot of community building, coalition building kinds of meetings. Get ready, get your partnerships going, da-da-da, there's funding coming out, and here are the reasons why we need community groups and faith-based groups to be involved with supporting marriage and family. So I am, you know, when I think 10 years that I would have come here to Europe to participate in this type of event, I'm thrilled that much of that early work the fruits of it can maybe help you. I hope so. So what I've learned along the way, particularly about partnership building and coalition building, it's not easy. And to make good partnerships, and you have to make a good strategic alliance. So it has to work for all the parties involved, and the messaging has to fit both the objective that you're trying to do, it has to be very strategic and targeted, as well as your sense of mission. You know, we have this notion which we warn against in America for nonprofits, which I guess you guys would call NGOs, so nonprofit organizations, of mission creep. You know what that is? Mission creep. It means like, oh, the government is offering money over here, or we can get excited about this. So our mission is education, but ooh, we let it creep over here. So how do you prevent? Because you don't want your organization to be involved in too many different things. You have to be strategic about the little piece of the issue that Carolyn mentioned. So being strategic and messaging strategically and making partnerships that are sustainable, that is art and craft as much as is the knowledge base and content delivery. So some folks are going to want to be more like advocates, and some folks are going to be more like service delivery, and some folks are going to be more like think tank types. So that's fine. It's all needed. It's all needed. And I think there are, again, being here in the UN, I'm just learning really about maybe the messaging that you might want to do in the UN. It seems to me that there are key issues globally, right? health and the health, right, and how to deal with elderly. I think that point is undernourished, actually, even in the marriage movement in America. How important stable families are to take care of the older generation. I was just sitting here, and it was we've never really talked about that in the work that I've done in America. You know, outside of grandparents taking care of foster children, in my agency we don't see married couples, you know, as opposed to non-married couples, so I think that's a good point, and I think many people would find that interesting. Any connection between stable marriages and health, or mental health, is very important, and all of these, the structure of the family and how does it, maybe it's a stretch, and how it relates to the prevention of conditions for human trafficking and sexual abuse, but I think that's huge. You know, and also particularly men's health and the important role of men in early childhood. And then one more thing is, you know, because I think people can rally around this language because it's biological, is a neuroscience issue. How our little brains are developing. Religious people, we like to talk about spiritual and moral a lot, and I love that language. But it doesn't speak to lots and lots and lots of people. They're talking about brain development, and they'll listen because it sounds like authoritative knowledge. So there's great brain science out there, and we've got some brain doctors in the audience, and we have access to brain doctors. So tip sheets, especially, you know, the whole relationship between mother and child, but the triangular relationship, father, mother, and child, and how that influences early brain development. And if there's research on prenatal brain. But I mean, you know, at the very least we could say it influences once we have a baby in our hands. So those are the little contributions that I think, and I'm just thrilled if anybody needs to help in searching any of the databases I've given you. I also have lots more, but I'm a firm believer in don't give too much. You can contact me like, we've decided to go in this direction. Can you help? Can you provide some information, some curricular resources, some educational resources? Can you direct me? Please do not hesitate to contact me on my professional email, and I'm sure my boss would allow me to do that. So, thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, my term, I have another hour and a half, no, hour and 5 minutes, which I will fully use to make you put to sleep. To put you to sleep. No, not at all. I just want to, my main point is I want to thank you all for coming here, but I want to also extend particular thanks to some of the people that were not mentioned so far, that have contributed actually considerably, because this conference was born in Venice, where we had a meeting among a few people where we felt compelled when we saw, for instance, some of the issues that were raised about some kind of cultural imperialism that was practiced by some governments in order to impose a certain view on the family. I mean, I could go back even to the time when some countries, foreign minister came here and said, oh, everybody, you have to believe in our family values. We have the means to oblige you to do so. Anyway, I don't want to make any political issue here, but you know what I mean. This kind of thing, we felt, is just simply not acceptable to us here in Europe. I mean, I'm Swiss, I'm not part of Europe, but also even in Switzerland, same. It's not acceptable to just push us to believe things that we cherish dearly, which is our family. I mean, we're experts in family because we have our own families, we have our own kids, and we're dealing with them, and we're dealing with the larger society. I want to thank especially two people here, Stephen Stacy, who is there, and also our dear friend Joseph Thundacker, also Christian Hausmann. Actually, these three people were instrumental in setting this whole European project of this conference here at the UN up. I mean, they some lived in Finland, some lived in faraway Austria, and some lived in faraway Germany. I mean, it's not far away. But anyway, I felt it was an input also, it was a result of networking, of also beyond national barriers. And I'm grateful that you gave your input also in terms of recommendations of various speakers. We have a whole wide variety of speakers that we had representing all kinds of countries and traditions and cultures and so forth. So I'm grateful also for that, for those contributions. Stephen, really, thank you. You did actually a great job that nobody maybe seemed to see so much, but you did a lot. And also Joseph, thank you very much. We have to go on with what we started here, but I want to also pay tribute to actually, of course, all those great speakers who came from the various organizations. Also, some last minute even came in and gave a valuable contribution. And I want to also make sure that I think for us it was an enormous encouragement to see that a resolution on the protection of the family was passed on Thursday. We were invited to the same evening to celebrate National Holiday of Egypt, who was one of the co-sponsors. The Egyptian ambassador was normally supposed to come, but he's wrapped up in a different meeting. So I'm also grateful for all those sponsors of this, the Russian Federation and also Holy See, sponsors of this resolution. And I would just say we need to work together, not only, we are the NGOs here, and you are the national governments, but we need to work together, NGOs and governments, non-governmental organizations and governmental organizations, and try to make sense of what policy, such kind of vital points like family, that policy must make sense, common sense, and not just legalistic sense. So I'm closing here. I think I have 1 hour that you can relax, and don't worry, I'm not going to go on. But anyway, thank you all, and hope we keep in touch. Definitely from our side, we'll keep you updated. And yeah, that's it. So Timothy Miller did actually jump in and wrote down these recommendations. So Tim, you are still typing. That's quite incredible. I'm always amazed how fast Tim is typing, despite the two-finger system. Do you have something you would like to say? Besides that, I mean, you represent one of the co-sponsors as well. Yeah. And Mark Brand, Secretary General of UPF Europe, who is not here, and especially also
he's here.
Don, thank you for giving us. Oh yeah, there he is. He's hiding. Do you have something to would like to say?
Well, I really think the main people we should be thanking are really Heiner and Caroline. So can I suggest, because they really did bear the burden of this whole thing, and they were the ones who initiated the holding of the conference. And so can I suggest we give them a round of applause?
And good luck with Switzerland tonight.
Oh yeah.